Good evening, Prescott. Are you in for a treat? Oh my goodness, yes. It is KYCA PM. Jason Zenzaletta with you on the radio side and live streaming at our studios doing the new fad called television. And we want to thank you for joining us on that as well. 928-541-1016. And we've got something new today as well, by the way. Elon said I could. And so we've joined Twitter once again. KYCA Radio on Twitter. If you have a question for today, join us on Twitter as well. All right, KYCA Radio, at KYCA Radio on Twitter. Elon said you could, so we're going to.
He's still CEO?
He's still available. Yes, he's still CEO today.
As of Elon or Elon?
Elon, he's rich enough that it doesn't matter. How about that?
How about Sir?
Sir.
Yes,
Sir is good.
Sir works. Yeah.
Sir works. And it's one of those things where I would like to be able to, how do you know the difference between having power or having money? If you have money, if I had money, I could call Elon right now. Hello, is Elon there? No? Well, tell him it's me. And I'd hang up. That's money. Power, he calls you back. That's where you know you have power. I'll take power.
Money is not caring about power.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Very good. And folks, in case you haven't figured it out by now, it's a time once again for another edition of the Panel of All Knowledge here on KYCA. So if you're watching at home and keeping score, you're going to want to keep track now. To my left, it's Bob Recker, The Bob Show, Tuesdays, the first Tuesday of the month.
That's correct.
And you've got somebody from the IRS coming in?
I do. I have a guy named Brian
Come on.
Martin.
Okay.
Brian Martin coming January 3rd, 4 o'clock, and he's a guy who works for IRS, and he deals with fraudulent things that go on that people do with their taxes. I've got more than 20 questions to ask him. One of which is the 87,000 extra people that they're hiring, which apparently may not happen.
I bet you don't get past 8.
There you go.
I know. I told him I'd probably have him on more than once.
And we have assurances that if you call in and ask a question during the show, they will not figure out who you are.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
Really.
Anonymous callers.
Across from me on the table of all knowledge in the panel, we have Malcolm Barrett Jr. Malcolm in the morning on Thursday mornings. Thank you for bringing in Cal Cordes last week. That was
wonderful.
It was a fantastic show.
We're going to do that again. And my guest Thursday, January 5th, will be Chris Wilson from Yavapai Silent Witness.
All right.
Kicking off the first Catch-22 of 2023.
Fantastic.
I noticed you have your
I
KYCA shirt on. You got your Silent Witness.
I do.
I got my world's oldest rodeo vest.
And Phil has nothing. But that's okay. He doesn't have to. The dean of all hosts, Phil King. Thank you for Monday morning program to kick us off. Thanks for joining us again, Phil.
Oh, glad to do it. And we were talking before we went on the air about how timely it was, because here we sit, the three not so wise men.
No kidding.
Well, I was being nice and calling you the panel of all knowledge, but I'll take the three less than wise men. Okay. Well,
Socrates said he knew nothing.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
So let's go ahead and get started. And folks, again, 928-541-1016 if you dare to interrupt the panel. And also you can check us out on Twitter at KYCA Radio. And, of course, you can watch on our website and on Facebook as well, because we're joining the 21st century. Okay, first question very quickly. Kari Lake is going to trial on 2 counts out of the 10 that she sued the state. There will be a 2-day trial. We don't know the dates exactly when that's going to be set in the next few days, but the judge said he wants the trial over with before the inauguration, January 2nd, so they don't have much time. And she's going to get 2 days. There are 2 counts concerning, let's see, I think there was a question of signatures, and there was also a question of the printer problems at some of the precincts in Maricopa County. Katie Hobbs is going to testify. Steve Richter of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is going to testify. First impressions and predictions on what's going to happen. Let's start with Phil.
Oh, thanks.
There you go. You looked interested, so there it was.
It is going to be interesting, because to see Katie Hobbs on the stand trying to figure out what to say, she will not remember. I don't recall a lot of things.
Okay.
And Richter's going to say, no, everything was fine.
Okay.
Now, whether that turns into anything or not, we'll have to see.
Now, you said on your show, and I said this morning as well, so we're kind of repeating ourselves. We have precedents for this
We do.
in the state of Arizona 100 years ago.
100 years ago, the 1916 election, when Governor Hunt lost to Tom Campbell.
Okay.
Campbell was the Republican opposition at the time. Hunt refused to leave the office,
Right.
locked himself in the governor's office, and it went to court, of course, and the court on January
Or
27th,
December 22nd.
no, well,
Okay.
January 27th of 1917 said, no, Campbell was elected, you got to leave.
Okay.
So he did, but he continued the court process. And then in December of 1917, a year after the election, the state Supreme Court ruled that no, Governor Hunt, you won, you take the governor's seat, and he did.
And Campbell was out.
And Campbell was out, and then Hunt
Ba-
decided not to run again in 1918, became ambassador to Siam.
So there you go.
Well, what was the precedent that he got? Oh, you remember what the reasoning
The
was?
court ruled that there was enough
Evidence.
change and evidence in the ballots that
I'll be
Hunt
danged.
won.
There we are.
The tallying
Malcolm?
machines weren't working properly then.
Yeah.
One,
yeah.
two, three.
Two, yeah.
So that leads into the text I've got.
All right.
I got a text from somebody, and they said, "What happens if the judge rules in Kari Lake's favor? Will there be a special election?"
I suppose they can call a special election. The court could demand a special election, or they could just overturn it and seat her. That's the
No,
precedent.
I don't think it'll go either way. It'll go to a recount.
Okay.
But the odds of that happening, in my opinion, are zero.
Well, the
Okay.
recount.
You've got a 17,000 vote difference.
The-
Now, if we'd been talking about 1,000 vote difference, maybe so, but not at 17,000.
But at 1,000, you'd have a recount anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, now
But the
with the new law.
recount isn't the issue,
Okay.
because all the recount does is put the same ballots back through the same machines.
But the ones that they couldn't
Right.
read or count, they count by hand.
And that-
was the argument here is the ballots were not printed properly, so the counting machine could not, count them. So what happens? Those are counted by hand,
Yeah.
Right.
and the rest are still run through again.
And there was a question of commingling of ballots as well.
That happened. There's a whole.
What does that mean,
There's a-
commingling of ballots?
Well, they said that some of the ballots that had been dropped in the special box that hadn't been printed correctly were commingled with ballots that had been run through and counted.
And they couldn't tell them apart.
Exactly.
And whose testimony was that based on?
That was one precinct that reported that, and it was some 1,700 ballots in that precinct alone.
Okay, so that was
20% of those
Republican
machines.
precinct?
Yeah, 20% of those machines did not work on election day, and they
Right.
were all in Republican areas.
all right. So, Bob,
I'm just saying.
now that we've all
I-
said this,
I-
what do you think?
I think that Katie Hobbs is going to be our governor.
Okay. Do you think there's any chance of it getting overturned even in the future?
No.
Malcolm?
Nope.
Phil?
Probably not, but like we were just saying, it's been done.
Of course, now we're back to politics, and what do we know, right?
Well,
I
judging,
personally was totally wrong. last
judging
night.
by our track record on election day, yeah, one has to
Well, I
wonder.
want to go back to the primary election and
In
have
August.
Karen Robeson Taylor go head to head with Kari Lake again.
Okay. Well, I mean, now that was uncontested, and I believe
it was not.
Well, all right.
And Karen Taylor Robeson conceded and said, "Elections are elections. I concede. Congratulations,"
Yeah.
and rode off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing that from a new ilk of Republicans here. If they lose, then it's a fight.
It seems
It's
like
rigged if they
But
lose.
Hillary Hillary
And
didn't
I'm a
lose.
lifetime Republican.
I know you.
yes.
And I supported Kari Lake, but I believe in Ronald Reagan's 11th Amendment.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not speak ill of fellow Republicans, period. Period. You're either Republican or you are not. There is nothing in between.
Okay.
And that's why we get our butts handed to us every election, because we slaughter each other in a primary.
That's right. I won't disagree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Bob?
No.
Anything
I'll
to
find
add
that.
there?
I was just thinking about what's going on in the House of Representatives now with the Speaker issue.
Yeah.
And that Nancy Pelosi, when she was the speaker, got rid of the rule about calling for a new speaker. You probably know more about this than I do. Anytime, when they're not happy with the speaker, and have a vote.
Yeah.
She got rid of that rule, and that's one of the things that the five guys are looking for.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest things is omnibus bills. If we could get rid of omnibus
Yes.
bills,
Yes.
that would fix a lot of
You
problems.
scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
7,500
Look-
things in that
yeah.
stupid bill they've got now. 7,500 earmarks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at the
With-
ballot initiative we just passed here in Arizona, that initiatives have to be one issue and one issue only.
Yeah.
These omnibus bills that are 1,000 pages of non-germane riders
Yeah.
that are everybody's
Right.
handout.
Well, this last bill is 4,000 pages long.
yeah,
Yes.
If
And
you'll,
it's
if
2
you'll
days.
support my
Did
bridge
you-
in Alaska
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the next
Well, of
military
course, yeah.
defense bill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll support your museum in
Yeah.
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
exactly how it's
Yeah.
done. It's called log rolling. The one you're referring to was the House rule, whereby any member can stand up, take the floor, and declare that the Speaker's chair is open, and the whole House had to have a
Yeah.
new vote.
Now, it's not
She
very.
got rid of that.
Yeah, she did. It's not very practical because somebody would just constantly
Oh,
be
yeah.
an issue. But still, the thought of doing that is important, and there maybe should be that fear there because it gets immediately I'm the boss and you're not stuff.
Oh, sure.
And everybody got elected just like everybody else out of those 435.
Okay, prediction for 2023 before we go to the break. Speaker McCarthy, yes or no? Bob? I'll come back to you. Malcolm.
I would say I'm going to say yes, but I'm hoping that there's some concessions that are made to those five guys, including Eli Kane, our new guy, who is in that group.
Crane.
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 Eli
What did I
Crane.
say? Crane.
Is in that group.
He's in that group, and I like it.
Yeah,
Okay, Malcolm?
McCarthy's got the vote.
Phil?
probably.
More than likely, huh?
Yeah, it's the internal game
Yeah.
that's played, and
It'll
yeah,
come out.
what do I need to
Concessions,
do
yeah.
to get your vote on
Yeah.
on me if I've got to give you what? So yeah,
If Eli gets something like that, then not bad for a freshman
Rookie
freshman
right, coming
congressman.
right out of the
it's
box.
been done.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to take our first break here on KYCA PM. The panel of all knowledge. I'll just continue with that. The three not so wise men, right?
That's it.
Okay, there you go, folks.
We're all sitting here saying I don't know. So
Okay, perfect start to the day, folks. So stay with us on the radio side. We're going to take a quick break on the streaming side. Heck, we'll just go ahead and ask another question. So it's called bonus content. So be sure to tune in here on KYC, and we'll continue in just a moment. Okay, minute 30, so very quickly. Lightning round for all of you guys and those of you who are still streaming with us. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Okay, Title 42 and the border, very quickly. We're out of control. Is there any way to get back in control quickly?
the court put a stay on the end of 42 and wants to have a hearing.
Right.
It's going to be in the Supreme Court.
Okay,
No, there's no quick way to solve this problem.
absolutely.
Well, there is a quick way, but it won't happen.
Which is?
To seal the border.
Yeah.
With?
Troops down there and seal
Exactly.
the border.
There you go. Malcolm?
Not going to happen. Even if the court says Title 42 is valid, doesn't fix it.
Nope.
It's
Nope.
we've still got
Agree.
problems. Send the welders back to the container, the shipping containers on the border.
Yeah.
Until Katie Hobbs gets back in.
No.
Gets in.
Another interesting part of Governor Hunt's tenure, after he was elected, during from 1914 to 1916, he got crosswise with the Wilson administration over border security. Hunt,
It was that darn Pancho Villa. He
it
kept
was.
coming
in
over.
fact, it was.
It was.
Hunt wanted to call up the National Guard and put the National Guard on the border to stop it. They
Okay.
had raided Naco, just like Pancho Villa went and raided Columbus, New Mexico, where there is a Pancho Villa State Park, if you can believe it. There is in Columbus, New Mexico. But anyway,
Well, we sent
The
Santa
secret-
Ana back to Mexico.
the Secretary of War came out. Oh,
Okay, and we're back in on the radio side here on KYC. It's too
Things going on.
yeah,
all one time.
too much going on. Thanks
No,
for
that's
joining
because
us.
you asked Phil to do a quick summation.
That's right. Okay, come on, Phil. We're good. KYCA PM 928-541-1016. The jocularity you're hearing, well, that's the panel of all knowledge. Bob Recker, Phil King, Malcolm Barrett Jr. in on the station. We're going over what happened, what is happening, and what could happen in the United States and beyond. So that's not too fine a point right there. And don't forget to join us on Twitter, at KYCA Radio. We're back on Twitter. Mr. Musk said we could, so there we are. And we'll
Mr. Musk said I could too, and not a chance.
basically let's move on. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Very quickly, okay. How about locally here in Prescott? Now, of course, one of the big things we have is we have this rezoning issue going on. Of course, we've been hearing quite a bit about that. And I know that that's supposed to come before the council probably in the next month or so. That's a possibility. I think it still has to go before planning and zoning. And this is the airport issue out there.
Oh, they're buying open space around the airport.
Is that
both things are happening.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
The rezoning is a taking.
okay.
Once you zone out a pre-existing allowed use, it's a taking.
Okay.
That's going to cost the taxpayers of Prescott millions of dollars. Then when they start buying property from people like Ron James, that's going to take a whole lot of money from the city of Prescott taxpayers.
Yeah.
This is bad idea. It's a bad approach by the city council to what they claim they're trying to do, when in fact it's a backdoor approach to no growth. Mal's even better at that than I am, but it's connected to the decibel level, noise levels around the airport.
The noise levels around the airport, and they did a very extensive study about the noise contours around the airport, which we've had around for a number of years.
For sure.
There was a dated one, and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, has a standard noise level of no construction or increased noise abatement in the home construction and building construction and use at a noise level of 65 decibels. We are speaking right now at 65 decibels.
Oh, okay.
Anything over that, you're going to have some restrictions. The city is proposing we lower that to 55 decibels.
So we have to whisper.
And it is not a 20% reduction, it is a reduction of 20 times. Well, you can't even a whisper is 55 decibels.
And they're doing that because
they
somebody
can't.
complained?
They claim that they can't. And we can do it if we so choose. And basically what that does is shut all development down within that area. And it's a taking of property that was already zoned for property use through development agreements and general plans.
Sure.
And it's basically a guy's attempt at no growth. We do not need to go to the 55 decibel level. We can stay at the 65. It's called the DNL, day and night average difference. So we don't need to do that. And if we just implemented the restrictions at the 65 DNL versus the 55 DNL, we're not going to have these problems. But there are certain members of the airport advisory board, the airport manager, and a few members of the city council that decided it's in our best interest to go way above and beyond the minimum FAA standards. And I think that is a multi-million, tens of millions of dollars
And the
decision.
decibel levels at geometric scale, like the Richter scale is.
Right.
Where a 6.4 and a 6.5, that's 10 times. So you're dealing with the same thing in decibel.
It's a geometric scale.
Yeah.
I'm learning all kinds of things here today.
There we are. This is why I brought you here, Bob, so we could all learn things.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I'm sitting over doing.
No, it
I'm asking questions.
Your shirt says silent witness.
That's
so
right.
there
There
you go.
you go.
There you
There
go.
it
So
goes.
be silent. By the way, we just had our meeting today.
We did.
Too. Yeah.
and we did some good things.
Yeah, going out and getting those bad guys.
Yeah,
That's
we are.
that's
kinda
another
fun.
that's another thing. We've got Silent Witness, and of course we had I think it was a very successful year for Silent Witness.
Oh,
yes,
tremendous.
More successful than any other prior year.
Yeah, and we've got the work that Silent Witness is doing. We've got the work that Matt Force is doing, and we've got the great work that we're seeing in terms of police and law enforcement. And I'm going to say this: it's not enough.
No,
There's
but we are doing more
Totally.
here in Yavapai County about fentanyl and increasing prosecution of fentanyl dealers than the entire Biden administration
And-
nationwide.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
And you're right. We need more and more and more. I believe in the broken windows thing. We need to take care of all the little things all the time.
You take care of the little things constantly.
And the big things take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
yeah. Now this is not an indictment of our local law enforcement
No,
at all.
no,
At
no,
all.
they're doing a
They're
At
doing
all.
great.
They are being inundated. Along with the border, along with all of the folks south of us,
Yep.
they are being absolutely inundated by the drugs not only moving through I-17 and I-40, but those moving through our community as well.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
And I'll put in a plug for Dennis McGreen as the new county attorney.
Yes.
Smart guy. I've known him for a long time. Great presence in court. He's a good choice to manage that office.
Okay. Well, there you go. And that's going to be decided after the first of the year, I believe.
No, it's already. He's
already in.
He's already sworn in.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Very okay. And
In
now I know.
Yavapai County, we have our first prosecution for murder for a fentanyl dealer.
Really?
First in the nation.
Fantastic. That's a very good step. Some people might say that's a little overboard, but let's face it.
No,
we're
it's
in
not.
Exactly. I agree. I
And
do
how
agree.
many million of those pills are coming over the border every day?
Oh, that's
And-
absurd.
And the administration
Right.
If I
says the
slide
border's
this
secure.
Yes.
if I slide this pill over to you and say, "Hey, Jason, that's a sweet tart. You might enjoy it," and I know it's arsenic, and you eat it and die, should I be prosecuted for murder?
Absolutely.
100%.
There you go.
Absolutely. And this is a very good thing. We absolutely support this. I'm just saying that there are a few, fortunately not here,
Right.
who think that may be overboard a little bit. Not at all.
Well, they should stay in California then.
There you go.
That's right.
To be honest, what's the best thing at going forward? And I know that we have Bob and Malcolm who are on the board of the Silent Witness, and all three of you have served on the city council, so you understand, at least on the city side, enforcement and things. What else right now can we do in Yavapai County to help law enforcement and help prosecutors get what they need to get done? I mean, the law enforcement is stretched to the limit. The K-9 units are stretched to the limit. They're working way overtime as it is. What can we do on the short term that makes sense, that the taxpayers are going to say, yeah, that makes sense?
Well, keeping the public informed, I think, is one of the biggest things we can do.
Okay.
And this station does a great job of that.
We do.
So
Well, funding the
There
I
you go.
know that sounds like brown noise,
but it's
it
true.
does.
It is true.
It is true.
Okay. Malcolm?
funding the new Justice Center was a big step in that.
Yeah.
The next step is we've got to approve the pay increase for our law enforcement
Oh,
officers.
that's true. Yeah.
We got to bite the bullet. We're competing with law enforcement agencies all over the
country.
West,
Yep.
and we've got to be on par with the rest of the state on what
Yep.
enforcement or what pay scales are.
Yeah, and it would be a lot better to spend the money on that, on additional law enforcement officers, on the K-9s, on the things they
Right.
need,
Yep.
than buying $10 million of open space
Yeah.
out around the airport.
Yeah.
Well, try 20 to 30.
Yeah,
Well, they-
absolutely. Yeah, once they get started.
Thank
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell
Dan
you-
Baggerly for the K-9s. He's been working
You
on
bet.
that for years.
Dan's been wonderful. So, okay, we've got to take a break here on KYCA PM. Are we in a break right now?
I think we're in a break.
Okay.
I apologize. That's
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, well, you guys got to get coordinated on this. So there we are.
us,
No, them,
Yeah.
not you guys. You guys are great.
we're not coordinated anyway.
When we come back from the break, we're going to have Ted Gambogi. He's got a question he wants to talk about airport overlay, so we'll get him on. You will see how that goes. 928-541-1016. And, of course, we're just doing streaming right now, folks. So thanks for joining us. And, of course, join us on Twitter. Join Twitter, KYCA Radio. We'll bring you news stories and all sorts of stuff on this cool thing. So Okay, we've got a few minutes to go before we go back on the radio side. Is that right?
It looks like we have about a minute.
About a minute. Okay. Live streaming, live radio. What can you say?
Gotta love it.
That's what we got to do.
I don't know if I like it because I liked our non-publishable conversations in break times.
There you go. So, real quick, of course, there's a lot more to discuss. We got to talk about what's coming up in 2023, any predictions that we have. We also want to make sure that people can call in. And, folks, we're going to do more podcasting as we go on through the year this year. We're going to be doing more internet-only content. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great things. You're going to see some really new stuff that we don't get a chance to do on our local talk shows because it's always, a lot of times, it's the issue of the hour that we get to talk about and what's going on with the city and the county. We've got other important, great people here. I've got a whole list of people that are going to be coming on in the next year on our podcast. So,
Coming in. 10 seconds.
and so, with live radio, I mean, that too. It's a great thing. Okay. What can I say? We're getting used to this, and now we are getting ready to go back to the radio side. Here on KYCA PM. Thanks for rejoining us. 928-541-1016. Was that slick or what?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And folks, I want to thank you for your patience. We're still learning this system, simulcasting both radio and streaming. So you got to understand we're in a different studio so we're getting used to all of this as we get to the end of the year. Phil King, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Bob Brecker here with Jason Zunzaletta, myself, and just letting you all know. Okay. Next big thing. Let's move to the. Do we want to bring Ted in? Okay. Let's bring Ted in on line one.
To say.
Everybody, don your headphones and let's get started. Ted, you're on the air.
Well, of the three guys, I don't care who has the frankincense and myrrh, but which one of you have the gold?
That's a good question. Who has the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh? If you were the three not-so-wise men here. Okay, good question, Ted. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again later on. Okay, no. Ted, what do you want to say real quick?
Can we go back to the airport for a minute?
All right, can you guys hear him okay?
Yep.
All right. Go ahead, Ted.
We met more times than FDR met with Joseph Stalin, and we went through a lot of misinformation that had to be corrected.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I just want to talk to that point. There's a lot of belief that the airport is kind of overreaching its bounds. They come out with an initial offering,
okay,
and then they've compromised on a number of issues, and
You're talking
it has
about
now moved from the Planning Commission to the City Council.
You're talking about the landowners that have made a compromise.
I'm talking about the city has made compromises on the original proposal.
Okay.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there. I was listening to Steve Blair this morning, and he was saying how 4 commissioners were confused and inferred that the Planning Commission didn't know what they were doing. That's entirely not true. We went through more data than we've ever gone through in my tenure. And as the deceased former New York Senator Patrick Moynihan once said, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. What I spent 5 meetings correcting misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
Comments like, well, it's not any noisier at the airport than it is at the YMCA. Well, you guys understand the logarithmic scale, and it's 3,000 times more noisy at the airport than it is at the YMCA. But the important thing that I think most people miss
mm-hmm.
is that in 2015, 11 of the smartest people in Prescott spent 3 years to write our last general plan, and it protected the airport. Had we adhered to what was in the general plan, we wouldn't be having this discussion today. But in 2017, the city reached an agreement with the developer, and that trumped the 2015 plan. So, in all fairness, what the city staff was trying to do is to protect the airport, which is a direction from the city council that we're going to have an airport and it needs to be protected. Now, a lot of misinformation got out there about the the decibels, the 55 and the 60 and the 65 decibel level from the FEAA is something like 20 plus years old. And to my knowledge, there's no longer any 55 decibels. It's been compromised from 55 to 60. So I just wanted the residents to understand that before we get a lot of upset public people because they're running on misinformation. So that's what I have for you guys. Otherwise, I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Ted, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What's your position on this issue, personally?
My position is if the city says they want an airport, then we have to protect the airport.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ted, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Betcha.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Okay. I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and take another break here on the radio side on KYCA PM, and let's continue on with the streaming. Okay, 928-541-1016, and thank you for joining us on the streaming side on Facebook, on our website here on KYCA.info as well, and we'll have the three not so wise men as we go with continue our panel discussion and look ahead to 2023 when we come back on KYCA.
Hey, let me call you back in a few minutes.
Okay, let's pull. Okay, no phone calls during a show. All right.
Remember that package I said I was looking for?
Yeah.
It's the guy whose porch it's on.
Oh, okay. There you go.
How do you answer Ted's?
No choking on your sinuses.
How do you
either.
answer
Apologize.
Ted's concerns?
Yeah.
How do you answer those?
Well,
I would have asked him how he intends to pay for it.
right.
How do you pay
How
for
do
the
you
taking?
estimate what the cost is, and to what level are you protecting the airport?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, we're not going to have major, large airplanes here like 737s. We're still only going to be serviced by regional jets.
Okay.
They have an entirely different noise level and an entirely different passenger load than the normal airliners most of us are used to.
Okay.
So,
Is there a compromise? Are we going to end up with a compromise, or are we going to end up going one way or the other, and the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for
well, the taxpayers are going to be on the hook no matter which way we go.
No matter how much or how little
It's just
they do.
a question of how much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the city council being so one-minded, so myopic on the land issue, aside from protecting the airport,
Yeah.
that's where the money's going to come from. They've already paid out some dollars out there around the airport. They've already made.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Why do I always end these breaks with Phil talking?
exactly.
Why
So-
is that?
I don't know. Well, folks, thank you for rejoining us on the radio side on KYCA. We've had far too much fun here today. Way too much fun this close to Christmas. 928-541-1016. Bob Recker, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Phil King, Jason Zenzaletta just sitting on the sidelines watching all this happen.
Yeah.
And very quickly, let's move ahead to 2023, shall we? Let's just take a look ahead. I mean, what? Come on, Phil.
City election coming up.
I was really not going to breach that, but okay, what the heck, you want to discuss it. We have a very interesting election coming up in that we do have, of course, the mayor is up for re-election every 2 years. We have 3 seats coming up, and we have a 4th seat that will have a special election this year, and that is the 2-year completion of Jessica Hall's term that Connie can tell me has been appointed to hold until 2023. So I guess the question is, what happens this year? Because record spending happened in 2021 by far. Is that trend continuing, and what else is going to happen this coming year in the
Well,
election?
when you talk about the city or the feds?
Let's take a look at the city first, very quickly.
Okay. Well, yes, record spending did happen. We've had increasing sales tax revenues primarily, and of course, you've never seen a governmental agency that didn't spend what they got.
Well, now wait a minute. I'm talking about spending on the election.
Well,
All right, campaign
election
spending. Campaign spending.
normally we elect 3 council members and a mayor
Correct.
every 2 years.
Right.
We will be electing 4 council members
Right.
and a mayor this time.
That's correct.
Just as we did the first year you and I ran. I filled in that vacant
You did.
2-year
You ran for
term.
part,
Right.
as did Karen Fan
As
in
did
the
Karen.
2 years prior to the. Oh
Right.
no, in our election, she was filling a 2-year vacancy.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, we have Kathy Rusing, who's going to be running for re-election, I assume. We have Steve Sischke's seat, which will be an open seat, and we do not know, obviously, about the appointment and possible election run of Clark Tenney. Who is appointed and will be up for election this year in his seat anyway. And then we have Connie Kentelme and her seat that she filled, and that will be the 2-year seat that's running. So
We could have 5 seats up for election
exactly,
possibly.
we do.
this
Well,
term.
my question would be, will Phil Good,
Or 6?
the
No.
mayor, will he be
No.
challenged?
I suspect, I don't know who, but I suspect somebody.
There are always going to be challengers,
Yeah.
and I guess there's going to be at least 2 challengers.
It is a rare Prescott election that a mayor is not challenged.
Right.
So I would assume it's a very good chance, whether or not the mayor has done a good job. Typically, they are challenged here in Prescott. So I guess there is that. It's just interesting to see what the dynamics of this, because you never quite know who's going to run, and they're going to have to get their campaigns going because we moved the primary back to the beginning of August. That means that they're going to have their petitions in a little bit quicker, I believe,
1st of April.
something like that.
Is it that quickly?
It
think
is,
so.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
They have to get it back by the 1st of April?
It's April. It's not May anymore.
Well,
Oh, my
normally
gosh.
the earliest you could turn them in was in April, and
Okay.
they were due by May 1st. So
God, I don't know.
if that's the case,
Wow.
Yeah, at least a couple of weeks, if not the whole month. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And
They'll be-
there's a bunch of, you got to get a bunch of signatures.
nah, it's not that much.
Well, we had to get 1,600, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It really is.
We're
We're going
we
to see
need
how
to
this
get
works.
150.
No,
I'd
it was
get-
about 400.
no,
I think.
I remember you had to get over
Counties-
600 some.
County supervisors are looking at what, 85 or
Yeah,
100?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Because of the way the districts are?
They just passed them around to kinfolk.
As a matter of fact, it's a very early election this year. The primary in 2023 will be August 1st.
Wow.
Mayor Phil Good's seat, of course, Kathy Rusing, Steve Sischke, and Clark Tenney's seats. As we said, Connie Kentelme's 2-year term is up as well. The general election November 7th, if we have to get to that point. Personally, I will say that there's going to be a challenger for every seat,
Yes, I would agree with you.
and that
I would agree.
includes the mayor. So that's just the way it is. It's not an indictment on anybody's job that they've done. I think that's just typical for Prescott.
I love the way it's set up because you can throw the bums out every 2 years.
That's right.
That's
You
right.
can
You
change,
can change the direction of the council,
Absolutely.
and it definitely needs changing.
Yeah.
So
So there you go. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Now the state and the federal, obviously. Okay. Let's take a look at the federal, because officially 1 week after the general election, the 2024 presidential election began with Donald Trump announcing that he is running,
yeah.
and Joe Biden not knowing whether or not he's running day to day.
Depends on what Susan Rice tells him.
There you go. Is Joe Biden going to be running in 2024?
I sure as heck hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like the Democrat sure as heck Trump is running.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a Trump-Biden election?
No.
No.
Is
The
this
Republicans are done with Trump.
okay?
They'd vote for him again if they had to, but they
And-
would rather not.
and I
right
think-
now, head-to-head polling has Trump losing to even Biden.
yeah, and I think secretly the Democrats are done with Biden.
Yeah.
No matter what he's thinking.
The golden
not
boy will
thinking.
be stepping to the plate.
Maybe-
Does he finish his term? Does Biden finish?
Unless he
his-
dies, yeah.
I honestly think he will finish his term.
No, yeah,
I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. I didn't say that 2
No,
years
that's
ago.
right. None of us did. We didn't think he'd make it.
I didn't
but-
think he would make it a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you are.
So I think that they will carry him over the finish line to his first term. And just to possibly avoid a Kamala Harris presidency
Correct.
at all.
And that's where the
I
golden
think
boy
that-
steps in.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's the ace in the hole, and the golden boy being our buddy Gavin
The
Newsom,
golden boy from the Golden State.
the former Mr. Kimberly Guilfoyle,
Yes.
Yes, yes.
who's dating Donald Trump Jr.
Is there any?
I didn't know Gavin Newsom was dating Donald Trump Jr.
No.
Oh.
You see,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
you see, folks. This is this. Do you see? You understand what I have to go through on
No,
these things?
but, the scary part is to realize we all were sitting around at one point in time in charge of the city budget. That was,
Well, that's it. Good night, folks. We're
Yeah.
done.
And we were arguing over a barbecue grill for the new city police
Yes.
station, whether
Yeah.
we should be paying for that.
not how many millions of dollars
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
And I would hope the city election, just to end it,
Yeah.
that the issue really is city spending and priorities, police, fire, road systems, those kind of things. That's what needs
You
attention.
could get back to the Jim Lamerson concept.
Well,
Pay
that's,
for the basic stuff, and the
What
rest
is-
of it's all
for
Basics.
Jim, basic services,
Basic
which
services.
means
it-
streets,
Yeah.
fire,
fire
and police.
That's right.
Yep.
And
It was
utilities.
basic services when you ran. It was basic services
yep.
when
We
ran
ran only on basic
And
services.
that's what the city's business is. They've got 20 businesses to run out there, and they
which
don't
is
need to be
which
doing
is
this.
also quality of life.
Yes.
You cannot have quality of life in any city without basic services.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have no argument from me.
Police and fire department response time affects your homeowner's insurance depending on how it's rated.
Yes. And that's
So-
something most people don't
No,
understand.
they don't understand.
Yeah.
The other thing they don't understand is that we, the city of Prescott residents, are not paying extra for fire services. It is included.
That's right.
We do not pay for any fire districts such as Central Yavapai or Chino Valley
Well,
or
we have the lowest tax rate in the 3 communities.
in the entire county.
in the whole county. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break on that, and we will get back to more predictions on KYCA PM if we decide to not do a quorum call and see what's going on with these former councilmen here. And we'll take their hands off the budget, too.
Where's
okay.
Blair?
Where's Blair? Yeah, 928-541-1016. We're going to take our last break. We'll be back after this. Okay, and we're back on the streaming side as well. Thank you, CJ. CJ on the engineer side. 1 minute, really?
I think so.
What are we going to do for 1 minute? Oh, I know. How about Classic Christmas tonight on KYCA
I
606?
listen to that every day on the way home from, or wherever I'm driving.
It's
a
a fantastic show.
It just puts you in a different place.
Yeah, it does.
My
Yeah.
wife loves it.
It's a great show.
Absolutely. She absolutely loves it.
Well, for Claire and for everybody else out there, tonight is Jack Benny. Tomorrow night will be Jimmy Durante. Thursday night, the Great Red Skelton. And Friday night, Bing Crosby, of course, rounding out the shows. So we're looking forward to all of that.
Quick Red Skelton story. I'm in Vegas. He's standing in the lobby, selling for 50 cents his signature on his face, on his. You know. And so I go over there. There weren't hardly anybody around him at that point.
Why did you want his autograph on your face?
No, on his face, on you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I give him $1, right? And he says, "I got to get you change." I said, "No, $1, right?" He signs it, and I gave it to our son eventually. But that happened to me in Las Vegas all those years ago, and then when he came down to the state fair, Red Skelton, I dragged our 2 kids down there and I said, "You're going to sit here and listen to him because you're listening to one of the greats of all times."
And he was.
And neither one of them remember it.
I had a similar experience with Wallace and Latimer, and they were just absolutely brutal with me as an adult.
Wallace and Ladmo. My goodness.
Speaking of Channel 7,
Yes.
is now picking up the Wallace and Ladmo show, and they're going to be re-airing it.
Again, fantastic.
Oh, wow.
I did not know anything about Wallace and Ladmo. The first show I saw was the 35th anniversary show. And I said, "What is this all about?" My wife educated me, who was
This
a
ain't Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, my wife educated me as a native of Arizona very quickly when we got married. So, and we're going back to radio. So, folks,
Well,
and we're back here on KYCA PM 928-541-1016. Back on the radio side, just a few minutes left. Phil King, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Bob Recker, Jason Zunzaletta. I don't know what we're doing on the air altogether, and I'm really rethinking this format next year. In the new year, that is my resolution. I'm going to rethink this very, very, very carefully. Okay. Back to do you want to go back to the federal election, the presidential election?
Or
All right.
Wallace and Ladmo.
Wallace and Ladmo is fine too.
I want to touch on a quick
Go ahead.
local thing.
Go ahead.
Simpo is doing that Sundog connector thing.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, that's
I
a big one.
I would like to
Ooh.
know what you guys think about that issue.
We need it.
Okay.
Hands
What are
down,
they-
we need it.
What are they going to do when they cut into the gold vein in that hill?
Stop all construction.
Well, that's how you pay for the property
Pay
that
for, pay for the road.
I know that with every project, there's somebody who is not happy about this. The folks in the back of Yavapai Hills
Right.
Primary, I think.
Right.
And okay, they have a point, but we go back to what Malcolm said: quality of life. And this is a road that, from all accounts, has been needed for years.
And nobody is shortcutting through Yavapai Hills to get to Trader Joe's
course
from the
not.
back site. That is
No.
just silly.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's a safety measure for the existing residents, and it's a shortcut to avoid that section of highway, because people who shortcut it that's not a destination. They're going around it because they have no intention of stopping there.
Right.
And just because somebody forces you through a shopping area doesn't mean you're stopping there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with 89 through the middle of town.
People don't remember when Prescott Lakes Parkway wasn't there.
Well,
Right.
right.
From 89 to 69.
Right.
Right.
It's needed.
And they also don't
this
remember
connector's needed.
3.5 miles.
before I-17 when all the north-south traffic was through Prescott on Highway 89.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
All our truck traffic was up through White Spar and through Sheldon
That's what
Street.
Sheldon was for.
And they said, my
we wouldn't have
goodness,
to go in early."
if we build I-17, Prescott will wither up and die.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, it's Prescott. You
That
know.
didn't happen.
No, of course not.
No, it didn't happen. So yeah, is it going to go through? Yes, I think so.
Yes, and I think it needs to.
It has to.
Well,
And as far north as you can push it.
Yeah, maybe a compromise, and I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the original plans yet, and we've got to talk to Simpo about this. I don't. I could see that this could be an expressway. No get-offs onto Yavapai Hills, no turn-offs onto anything else, at least in the short term, first
It
5
should
to
be
10 years.
restricted.
Yeah, restricted access, exactly.
Because the people in Yavapai Hills are going to want to use it
well, sure.
on the backside.
Yeah,
They really are.
Well,
the
then you're going to have to
backside-
have access.
well, the backside of Yavapai Hills, you got to go all the way through out to 69
Right.
instead of what,
Right.
half a mile down to 89.
You got to weave your way all the way
So-
through Lee
so
Boulevard to
having
Sunrise.
some kind of access for that side of Yavapai Hills.
Right. And if they're going north on 89,
Yeah.
they're straight out.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any other predictions for 2023 with metaphysical certitude, as John McLaughlin used to say?
Metaphysical.
Are we talking
certitude,
about
yeah.
Malcolm the Magnificent?
No. Oh my goodness.
Remember Karnak,
Oh, folks.
Johnny Carson?
Yeah.
I need my turban, or is that my horn Viking
The
hat?
question is,
Yeah.
2023, I guess, anything from recession to national politics to what the heck is going on. Bob, anything off the top of your head?
Well, I think there's going to be a recession. We've already had
We're
a
already
recession.
We're in it.
And
Yeah.
it's going to continue. I don't see quick fixes for that
Right.
at all. I think closing the border, if we could figure out how to deal with the border issue, it would be a big step forward.
Okay.
We have to deal with that.
Malcolm?
Everybody keeps their eye not only on inflation, on the things we buy and use every day, food, fuel, whatever it may be. The real estate market is a huge indicator of the economy.
Right.
And I don't think we're heading for a crash like we saw in 06, 07.
Okay.
But I really do think we haven't seen the bottom of the market yet. Sure. And it's already declined 12% now since the first of the year. And that's a big number.
different conditions pushing it than were prevalent in 08.
Correct.
That
Yes.
was that was a
It's a
lending issue.
different dynamic.
Yeah.
And now we've got the interest rates that are putting a lot of people out of the market. And we've got cash buyers sitting on the side saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't need to move and I'm not going to make my move because I don't want to overpay.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a limited number of new buyers to the market now.
Are we seeing a problem with our local builders?
No indication yet, but
Not yet.
the pipeline is still backed up from a year ago for
Well,
our
that's
local
true.
builders.
That's true. So they're going to be busy for the next year.
They'll be busy at least for the next year.
Okay.
All right, I got another prediction.
All right.
I believe that the University of Arizona is going to be in the Final Four in basketball in 2023,
Okay.
and that the baseball team which I hardly even want to talk about, is going to be get to the playoffs. The Diamondbacks are going to make it to the playoffs
Ooh.
in 2023.
Only
Those are my
if-
two predictions.
Only if they trade the owners.
Well,
Are you eating your gummy bears again? Your gummies?
GC.
I'll tell you what. The University of Arizona's got like 6 players that are from other countries.
Yeah.
And what I see when I watch them play is that they have come here having learned the fundamentals of basketball. They're not just going on athleticism. They've actually got,
They're going to lose to the Texas Longhorns in the Sweet 16.
well, they probably are the Wisconsin Badgers.
Grand
Twice
Canyon,
they're in.
Grand Canyon wins the WAC.
Do they get to go to the tournament this year?
They will.
Yeah, they will. if
I
they win.
didn't. I knew that the first few years that they're in Division One, they didn't get to go.
Right.
They get to go this year,
Yeah.
and they will go.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Malcolm, any sports predictions yourself?
Well, yeah, I just gave a collegiate prediction.
Thank you for Texas beating Arizona. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
You do that, I do this.
But don't hold your
because
breath for the
that's an
Cardinals for next
antelope.
year.
That's an antelope. See?
No,
Yeah,
Cardinals
don't hold your breath
no,
for the Cardinals
no,
next year, or the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
Diamondbacks will be okay.
All right. Well, very quickly, I guess I think we're all in agreement. It's going to be Governor Hobbs going forward. I don't think Kerry Lake has much of a chance of overturning
It'll
it.
be interesting to see what kind of a job a 16-year-old Valley girl does.
No kidding.
Well, in the
Okay.
but the upside
Yeah.
is we're getting a lot of press in the humility and the jokes from the late night comedy shows about Arizona's counting capability.
Is Arizona a blue state or a red state or a purple state?
We're purple. It's no
Purple?
question now.
We got 2 senators that are both Dems.
Yeah. Well,
We
no.
got a governor that's a Dem. Are we a blue state?
No,
You got one who's now an independent senator.
But
even
we've
though
got-
Oh,
she'll-
yeah. You're
Does
right.
Kirsten Sinema win re-election in 24, or will it go to the Republican by default because she'll
No.
split the vote?
she's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
She's going to get the independent vote overwhelmingly.
Yes, and her regular 20%, her percentage of the Democrats, and she'll get 10-12% of the Republicans.
I agree with that.
Okay, that's the end of the show. Thanks for joining us on KYCA. It was just too much fun. We'll do it again soon. Well, close enough. Well, folks, but thank you very much for joining us on KYCA. The bonus content, too. I'm sure you're all impressed out there. We are, too. And we're going to see how this happens. Bob Recker, Malcolm Barrett Jr., Phil King.
Fun as always.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah,
This was
it was
good.
fun. I
Yeah,
This
we
was
kind of
good.
enjoy it.
This was good.
It was.
Okay, and that's the end of the year for the show, and that's all that. We may be back in January. We may not. We'll see how.
But you stole my thunder for Thursday,
For what?
for my subject Thursday.
Which was?
Just about what we talked about today. Your closing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there we are. I've done it again, and I've ruined the show for everybody out there. So
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
there you go. Okay, folks. Thanks for joining us on KYCA.